Hello and welcome! I've always enjoyed the LEGO Star Wars games from Traveler's Tales, and I found they're fun and well-designed 3D platformers targeting kids. But by the time LEGO Star Wars 3 came out, I'd already grown up at that point, and I had lost complete interest in the LEGO Star Wars series. At the time, I was looking for bigger and more impressive Star Wars games to play, not some kiddie game about some silly cartoon series, which I also had no interest in. But after all these years, I actually really got into and enjoyed that silly cartoon series, so I thought it'd be fun to take a look at that one LEGO Star Wars game that I never play and see how fun it might actually be. Today's video is sponsored by us at the 16-Bit Store. Organize and display your games and systems with our 3D printed display stands. They're designed and printed by us to fit your games and systems comfortably so they can be displayed beautifully. They're available now at the 16-Bit Store, so if you're interested, why not check them out from the links in the description. Now, over the years, I've talked about the LEGO Star Wars series in great length here on the channel, so to avoid repeating myself in this video, here's a quick rundown. I think that the LEGO Star Wars games are fun and amazing in their own right, but surprisingly restrictive in terms of LEGO games, with an amusing retelling of the Star Wars movies from the perspective of a small child. So when I grabbed my controller and booted up the LEGO Star Wars 3 for the first time, I thought I was just going in for another similar adventure, but this time based on the Clone Wars. However, what I got instead surprised me. From almost the moment go, LEGO Star Wars 3 feels like a new experience. The jump in hardware was just what the series needed, and now when I take a look at the game, it looks like I'm watching my very own LEGO models just jump off my playset and onto my TV screen. To say I was impressed would be an understatement. The expected 3D levels are back with platforming, boss fights, and the lot, but now there are more studs than ever before, a better approach to the multiplayer, and an overall improvement to the level design, mechanics, and everything in between. The space levels have also been revitalized, now with multiple layers and landing platforms allow you to get out of your ship to do some basic platforming. And all these changes have really impacted the game to make it a lot more fun than it's ever been. But what really caught me off guard though was the brand new ground assault mode, which took the simple mechanics of LEGO Star Wars and mashed them together with a very simple but enjoyable turn-based strategy game. It might be a little too easy for those who are familiar with the turn-based strategy games, but LEGO Star Wars managed to make it a perfect addition to the series, and I personally love it. With all this generous mix of game modes and updates and overall improvements, I have never seen LEGO Star Wars look and feel as good as it does here. To sing a little more praises, the LEGO looks exactly like my models of yesteryear. I love the small attention to detail given to the ships and the vehicles, and everything just looks and animates just as I'd expect it would from the Clone Wars. What I also like is just how well the game captures the atmosphere and general vibe from the TV show too, with the levels giving a wide range of feelings, from being dark and foreboding to lighthearted and enjoyable fun. If I had to complain about anything, is that sometimes the lighting is a little too extreme. The reflections are a little overkill at times, and there are some levels where it's a little bit too dark to actually see and platform in. But speaking of those levels, one of the biggest benefits of basing a game from a television series is that instead of trying to find levels to actually platform in somewhere in the movie, like in previous LEGO Star Wars games, this one, it can actually base one of its levels on an entire episode, or maybe even just an action set piece of a level. And for the most part, this methodology of level design and storytelling works really well, especially with levels like Rookies and Grievous Intrigue. But other levels like Defenders of the Peace and Storm over Ryloth, I feel the game's childlike approach to storytelling butchers the original story. And any morals which the TV show was trying to tell is just unceremoniously thrown out the window. But despite the butchering a few of my favorite Star Wars episodes, it's par for the LEGO Star Wars course. And the best storytelling thus far that I've seen from Traveler's Tale. So far then, this game feels like it's leading up to be one of the best Star Wars adaptations which Traveler's Tale has ever made. But how is it as a LEGO game? Sure, LEGO Star Wars 3 looks like LEGO, but does it feel like you're actually playing with it? And I'm not so sure about that. On the one hand, you have what feels like the largest selection of Star Wars ships, vehicles, and characters you can play with in any Star Wars video games. But on the other hand, you still are restricted on when you can actually play with these characters. Free play mode still doesn't even let you customize the entire party, other than your first character. However, in its own unique way, this game isn't as restrictive as any of the previous LEGO Star Wars games, since now the hub is its own unique level. And inside this hub, you can choose and select any character that you want to play as right then and there. And if you go find the vehicle bays, you'll be able to play with any and all of the tanks and ships and explore space and find out that there isn't two entire cruisers to run around and explore with and unlock new characters and secrets. Even though I personally do prefer the older LEGO Star Wars hubs, the amount of freedom that this game gives you with its unique hub is incredible. I just wish that the game allowed you to have this same level of freedom inside its free play mode. I still dream of the day where I can have the same level of freedom which Amaze Entertainment gave you in LEGO Star Wars 2 for the Nintendo DS, but for Traveler's Tale, this is absolutely the best LEGO experience which I've personally played from them thus far. But the bottom line though, is this worth getting today? And I think the answer to that question relies heavily on how much you've enjoyed the Clone Wars. If you like Star Wars The Clone Wars and enjoy the stories from the first two seasons, then LEGO Star Wars 3 is unquestionably the best LEGO Star Wars game out there. But if you don't like the Clone Wars, then this is still a good LEGO game, but you'll probably get a little more out of the complete saga. What they really needed to do is to take the engine out of this game and put it into the mainline series of films, which follows the Skywalkers in some sort of saga. But nah, they're probably not going to happen. However, if it ever does, I'm definitely going to take a look at it. But anyways, thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you have yourself a good day, and as always, take care. And don't forget, every Friday there will be a new poll for the 16-bit viewer special. Vote for which games you want us to review on this channel's community tab. Links will be provided below.